So welcome to Muay Thai Bones, right?
Me starting it.
That's you starting it.
I just started it. Welcome to Muay Thai Bones.
We
podcast.
say it together. It's a tradition. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Muay Thai Bones.
Oh. Okay. The first thing I wanted to say. Oh, this is a Kevin and Sylvie talking about all things Muay Thai. If you're new to the podcast, I want to say, first off, thank you to all the patrons that support us. This is a free podcast on YouTube, but it's made totally possible by, I had to let him fly out.
Yeah, you let him out. That was great.
By our patrons that support us. They make everything you're fighting.
Everything.
All the video, the Muay Thai library, and this possible too.
Yeah.
So thank you. If you enjoy the podcast and you're not a patron yet, head over to Patreon. There'll be a link down below. And if you are a patron and you're enjoying this, you're making this happen,
Yes.
right?
This is your baby.
Your baby. So we wanted to start out. We're coming home from. You just fought in Trot, which I'm not pronouncing right, baby?
No, I don't pronounce it right either, but in
Give it a
English,
shot.
it's trot.
And what do you say it in Thai? Kind of.
Trot.
No wonder.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think
It's where Dieselnoi had his very first fight, he told me.
Yes, and it's near the Cambodian border. You
Yes.
said. So we're about 4 hours out of Pattaya,
It's very pretty.
and it's near the island of
Koh Chang.
Koh Chang, which is a kind of beautiful destination island, which we haven't been to.
No. Emma said it's very nice.
Emma liked it, yeah. And you just fought a festival fight against a big girl, another one of 7 kilo probably difference. This was a very cool. We love festival fights. We love this when you drive to an area outside of the regular city tourist setup, and you fight a local star, and you have no idea how fucking good they could be.
Yeah, and they don't know how good you could be.
Totally. So you walk in kind of like a gunslinger. I don't know. I love these fights where promoters try to bring you in.
Yeah, Kevin calls me the ringer.
The ringer. They try to bring her in.
They're like, but we have a Hulk.
Yeah. And they bring her in, and there's this huge weight difference, and normally 1 or 2 kilos is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the promoters
Because they're like, nobody would do that. They're like, that's stupid to give up that much weight. They're not like, this girl must be amazing to give up that much weight. They're like, nobody's taking care of her. She's insane.
This is, no one's...
Like someone is taking
crazy.
advantage.
Yeah, something's not right. And the promoter that brings you in, like in this case, a promoter had heard from his friend who saw Sylvie fight in Chiang Mai that Sylvie's a monster, but he didn't believe it. Like he had never seen you fight.
No.
And so he doesn't even know how much money he should bet.
He was super concerned about it. And this is the crazy thing, is that I'm going in blind. Like, I don't fucking know who to trust or who anyone is.
Yeah, you don't even know the promoter.
I'm like, can you have someone corner for me? And he got these 2 very drunk men to corner for me.
Of course.
And then a third one, like, totally imposed himself.
Yeah.
Because he had 2 Westerners with him who recognized me, and I think he wanted to kind of like look
impress them,
cool or whatever.
Totally.
And it's interesting because I just did my voiceover for my last fight, and I was talking about how mentally I did not prepare myself for not having a corner. Whereas when I go to a festival fight, I don't know my corner. Like, I don't really care what they're telling me to do.
You kind of enjoy that in a weird way.
I do. There's like a freedom
liberty.
to it.
Yeah.
But this promoter wanted to put money on the fight, and so he kept coaching me on, like, can you fight this style? Can you fight this size? Even though she was not the size he said she was. And then, like, don't talk to anybody or tell anybody whether there's a derm pond. I'm like, I don't even know. Like, you haven't even told me accurately. Like, what would I say to anybody? I literally don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know. I love these fights. They're not easy to find.
It's a beautiful part of Thailand. Like, I was actually laughing many times last night watching some of the fights because they look like when Pinu will have the kids who have trained at our gym 4 times or something spar each other, and they just go crazy. Like, they just flail at each other, and it looks so ridiculous, but they actually are experienced. Like, they actually can create a fight together.
I kind of am not following what you're saying, actually.
Well, the little, like, 27-kilo kids were the best in the entire show. They were, like, totally styling to a point that was, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Almost pantomime of a real stadium fight or something.
Well, what's interesting, kind of what you were pointing out before you fought, there's a lot of, like, messy Muay Thai and a lot of different, like, age differences and such. But you said this really interesting thing. You were like, Loma came out of this.
Yeah.
Loma is...
Petija came out of that.
And Petija. Yeah. Loma is probably the best female clinch fighter in the world. She's moved on to MMA largely. But Loma Lukumi, she's a wonderful fighter. But there's this thing where the fighters, there's like this mashup of skills and styles in these festival fights, and it's somehow, if you can rise to the top of this, you acquire great skill.
But it's also a repetition of it. Like, these are, if you do it 20 times, no.
Yes.
When you do it like 100 times, you get these incredible fighters. Yes. And like, we were watching a boy who was like way better styling than he was at actually striking.
Yeah, his style was incredible.
It was amazing. And he got killed, like, as it progressed. But then also that female fight before me, that girl who just smashed the low kick, she was good. Yeah. Like, you put her at top A, she's like mid-level, but she's fucking good. Yeah. Like, that girl has confidence. Yeah. She has skill. She adjusts.
Strikes.
She's like, I'm gonna do this now, kind of thing, rather than like, oh, I've got these 2 weapons that my uncle taught me, and I'm just gonna do them.
This bubbling up is really interesting about these festival fights that repeat over and over again, and the fact that they're open to all levels of experience.
There's a thing that I saw. It was a Thai language meme.
Okay.
And it was saying animals chon. Chon is this clashing, and it's literally the word you use for any kind of animal fight. So like a beetle fight, a dog fight, a chicken fight, a buffalo fight. It's all chon, which is this clashing.
Right.
They're like animals chon. But humans, or nakmoy, su. Su is to fight.
Right.
And so it implies this kind of like strategy, finesse, like all these things that you see a lot of chon in those fights, and people fucking love it. I love it. I'm like, this looks like a beetle fight to you at one point. Yeah. But the su comes through it. It's like the seed has to break out or something.
Very much so. And all the chon iterations end up producing this finer and finer skill.
Yeah, and my fight had chon elements for sure.
Right.
But it also had like I don't know, branches. I'm
not following what you're seeing in your head when you're saying that.
I'm saying that, like, even an amazing fight, I'm not a Lumpini fighter, even an amazing fight at Lumpini has chon in it. Yeah. And it has this, like, that's what brings energy into it. It's like, that's the animal energy of it. Yeah. And so as things get better, they like kind of are a blending of the two. Those 2 little grommets, the little like 27-kilo kids, they kind of had no chon. And they were very boring. It was a very long fight.
I thought you said it was the best fight.
They were the most skilled of everybody, but it was actually quite a very boring fight. It was that kid who was like next to me the whole night, and I'm like, that kid's confidence is crazy. He lost, but he was half of that fight.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's not get into fights that nobody will ever.
I'm sure you guys
care. This is a fight they can't see.
But the kid's confidence outside of the ring was his performance in the ring. Like, he brought it everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
It's interesting.
Okay, so that's where we're coming from.
Yes.
On Muay Thai Bones podcast, what we're doing often is we're driving back from a fight. Sylvie drives all over Thailand she's fighting these incredible high numbers. This was fight 238.
That's a few.
We're heading towards fight 471, perhaps in 10 years. But This is us bringing you along with us across Thailand. The things we think about and talk about anyways. Like, we have these long conversations as we're traveling, and we're kind of like shining the light on what kind of things we have conversations about. That was a long intro. What I wanted to do is start out with a health subject matter. Like, so if you're not interested in health stuff, you can skip ahead 20 minutes. We're going to talk about Sylvie's diet to start, and the changes that we're kind of like always feeling our way forward with diet with you, right? The biggest change we made was when you went keto.
Almost a year ago.
Ketogenic diet. And the main reason why you went keto was you wanted to take control of your mental outlook and your mental stability, your ability to recover from negative thought trains, that we were feeling like if we could take out sugar and carbs, some of the deep valleys that you were heading down to, because you train incredibly hard, you fight more than anybody on the planet, literally, and the stress levels are pretty high and constant. And we were like, you were suffering a little bit mentally, and you had done a lot of mental work, like mental training, right? And it had given you skills, like how to deal with these kinds of like valleying down. But we were like, we got to address the biochemical influence in this, and that we felt like that was probably sugar. So you took sugar out with the ketogenic diet, and you guys can Google what the ketogenic diet is if you don't know, and you felt an immediate benefit.
Yeah, like within 2 days.
So talk about that. No? It's okay if you don't want to. You look like deer in headlights.
I was caught off guard. I thought when I look at our list of what we're talking about, it was not like where keto started.
I want to lead to what we're doing. What we're going to be talking about, what we recently did. So give people a perspective about this mental. Because people online, when they see, oh, you're doing a keto diet, why are you doing it? And they try to like comment
Athletes
online.
Need carbs.
Yeah, totally, right. You almost always are like, I want to respond to that comment and let them know, and you don't always respond. Mm-hmm. This was primarily a mental benefit. Like, yes, we found all these physical benefits, but the mental benefit is the anchor point about why you're eating ketogenically.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a easy way to express it. It's more even keel. It feels like I'm not being passive to my thoughts and emotions, but rather I can kind of like observe them and be like, let's not go down that alleyway today.
Okay.
So a little bit more control, but I think that using a metaphor or a comparison would help people understand more than just saying what it feels like, which is you may have a completely structure, you're used to it, whatever, lifestyle of like socially drinking every day.
Okay.
And then you decide to try stopping that for a little while, and you're like, holy shit, I don't hate myself at 11 p.m. all the time, naturally. Like, maybe I can kind of not cry and call my ex-boyfriend if I don't have the drink. Like, it kind of...
It kind of broke
like,
patterns, are you saying? Like, it kind of broke patterns or swings that you were kind of locked into?
Yeah, and it kind of goes with, and I've talked about Vipassana before, you can look at previous episodes of this, and I have blog posts about it, but I'm also doing Vipassana meditation, which is observing the body and the mind as not you. And it's the same thing. So if you're like, I hate myself and call my ex-boyfriend at 11 p.m. every day, that's not you if you don't do it when you're not drinking. Like it's.
Oh, I see what you mean. You feel like it's you, but
You're like, it's
only
just
because
how I
you
am.
repeatedly.
Right.
Yeah. So, sorry for taking you down that detour, but the reason why I wanted to set that framework was, okay, so Sylvie eats ketogenically. I do too. I've lost like 75, 80 pounds.
Yeah, Kevin's less of a crazy person.
And then we moved to what we're calling 1+1 keto, which is eating ketogenically every day and every other day, and fasting every other day, right?
Yeah, so you eat one day and don't eat the next day, but when you eat for ketogenesis. You eat keto.
Eat keto.
Yeah.
And this is a way of like pushing the benefits of the ketogenic diet just to the next level. And we kind of don't know anybody who does this. Intermittent fasting is very popular, eating in time windows. This is beyond that. This is literally fasting every other day. If there are people doing it, we don't know any high performance athletes doing this.
Yeah, well, this is something actually you can talk about because you were doing eating every other day for a very long time, but not eating keto.
Right.
So on days that you would eat, you would just carb load basically, or eat whatever you wanted. What's the difference been for you?
It's so huge. So huge. The key to fasting every other day is that you're fat adapted by eating ketogenically. So when you're fasting, your body is not reaching for the carbs that give it deep blood sugar drops. The way that the ketogenic diet works is it tricks the body. When you're eating lots of fats and low carbs, you're tricking the body that it's fasting, like it's not eating. And then when you actually fast, there's no difference. Like it doesn't, the body's still in the same state to itself. But what I kind of wanted to reach for was, has it now been a week or 2 weeks? On top of 1+1 keto.
Because we're always adding things.
Because we're just tinkering in a way, right?
It is an experiment. Like everything is an experiment.
Yeah,
in keto.
and part of what we're doing is you're sharing what you're doing, and then you're sharing what that experience is for you. We realized one of the things about ketogenic diet is you have to make sure that you take your electrolytes, you supplement with salt,
potassium and
magnesium. Potassium's hard to get on the ketogenic diet sometimes.
It's actually hard to get on any diet. People are way magnesium.
No, you can eat a
potassium.
banana though. Like you can get a big potassium boost by hitting a banana. You can't do that on a ketogenic diet.
Yeah, but a banana in a day is not enough. We don't have to argue about it, but you need a lot of potassium in a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's harder on a ketogenic diet
Significantly
to get
harder.
potassium from food sources.
Yeah. You're like
pretty much spinach,
avocado.
Yeah. But anyways, this is I'm sorry, I lost my
You're
train
getting
of
to
thought.
salt, sodium.
Yes. You have to watch your electrolytes. So we started thinking about, well, how much salt and general electrolytes should Sylvie be having? And I ran into Googling around, I ran into a line of health thinking, which is that low sodium, which is widely advised, is founded on faulty science, and that what the body really needs is sodium, and that many people, especially under the high blood pressure advisement, go low sodium. But in general, we've started to kind of like fear salt, like don't over salt your
unhealthy,
food.
yeah.
That salt itself is unhealthy. And there's a book you can read, which I just finished, called The Salt Fix, which basically looks into the history of this advisement that salt is bad. And the studies that it was originally founded on. But long story short, Sylvie's moved, and I have to a full salt philosophy.
Yeah, well, there's an element to this, which is that we really focused on potassium for a long time,
Good point.
felt a difference. Like,
Yes.
especially training in Thailand, where you're sweating so much and shedding all this water and electrolytes and all this stuff, when we were like supplementing with potassium, it was like, holy shit, this has been a seriously
You could feel it affect your mentality and mind. I could.
And energy,
in energy within like, I don't know, 10 minutes or 20 minutes.
And so then when we started looking into sodium, it was like, holy shit, the whole thing is actually about a potassium-sodium balance. And so we were hitting one end of the scale,
yes,
which if you do not have the sodium-potassium balance, you're actually pushing these things out of your cells that you need. Like the imbalance is not making things half better. It's making it not good.
Well, so we were consuming potassium. We were using cream of tartar.
We are using still.
Yes.
Yep.
Cream of tartar has a lot of potassium in it, and you have to research for yourself what is the safe levels of potassium that you should be supplementing. But what we realized with this kind of like pro-salt philosophy is that you, even before the ketogenic diet, you probably were under sodium. I don't know what the verb is there. Low in sodium.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe much of your whole time in Thailand.
Yes. Because
of the intensity of the heat and training that you go through, and the kind of general salt is evil thought.
Well, there's a lot of
framework.
salt in Thai food, and I was eating pretty normal Thai food for a number of years. But the thing is that even if you're eating, quote, pretty salty food, you need a lot of sodium doing what I do. Like, a lot. Like, I'm
More than you would think.
I'm taking like teaspoons. Not tablespoons.
Part of the thing is you were drinking electrolyte drinks, so you're like...
Occasionally, like not all the time, but yeah.
But you were supplementing your training with electrolytes.
Yes.
So you were thinking, oh, well, this should be fine, right? I'm training, I'm putting an electrolyte powder in my water. We didn't calculate out how much sodium is in a powder, right?
Right.
And how much you should be getting. So when we actually came upon these advisements on the pro-salt, there's a famous weightlifter who is very pro-salt. We realized, wow, we're thousands of milligrams short of what may be. What?
When you're thousands of milligrams short, you're not like, I need a little more. It's like you are not.
It's not like salt your food a little bit more. And then you have to understand also, this goes far off of the recommended daily allowance scale. The recommended daily allowance scale of salt is, I think, 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day for an average person.
Do not exceed 23. Like, you can go lower than that, but they don't want you to exceed 23. And it's sodium, not salt.
And so, true. And I'm sorry.
You're talking about the weightlifter and how.
Oh, well, so when you're saying you're thousands of milligrams short of what you need, 2,000 is kind of the limit in the normal recommendation. But what we've started following is this 2 grams or 2,000 milligrams of sodium per liter of water, replacement liter of water.
Yeah, because sodium helps pull water into your muscles, which turns out you fucking need for your muscles to work.
Right.
That's why creatine works well for people, is it also pulls water into the muscle. The sodium does that.
Right. So, well, it's more than this too. It's more than just water in the muscle. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted. This is why we get the big, long, why did Kevin start talking about the ketogenic diet? When you started taking sodium, and we're talking about taking teaspoons of it at a time, in specific, kind of like in a protocol to make sure that you're getting up in the thousands of milligrams that are equal to the amount of water that you drink in training twice a day, you experienced a really strong mental change that you equated to what you had first experienced when you went ketogenic.
Yeah, similar.
So that's what I want you to talk about.
Should we restart the thing?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Take a break. Okay. we had to stop the camera because it has a limited amount of time that it can record. We're continuing on from talking about, in a kind of like haphazard way, this new change we've made by adding sodium against common sense to our diet, both of our diets, right?
Yeah, so I've been properly like supplementing with sodium. It's not awesome in terms of like enjoyable. I have to take a lot, so I'm taking like half a teaspoon of sodium before and after training at each session, and then
salt, right?
Of salt,
yeah.
I'm using Himalayan salt, which is slightly less than like iodized table salt, so I have to adjust for that. But I'm trying to get 5,000 about milligrams.
I thought it was far more than that, but we don't even know.
Yeah, I'm bad at
clearly.
I'm bad at these measurements. But the thing is,
traffic is getting worse.
Oh.
You're still on the fastest route. You will now arrive at 2:04 p.m.
That's for you guys.
Thank you.
So the kind of amazing thing is that
I think it was 5,000 minimum, but really, if we added everything up, like you go through 2 liters of water.
This is the thing, is Kevin's calculation about how many milligrams per liter of water that I'm drinking is how we got to it. So it's like, I have at least 2 of these big things of water
every time you train.
Every time I train. So that's 4.
So that's 4.
And then I should be drinking between training.
And that would be 8,000 milligrams of salt.
Crazy.
Where this
I'm
one
100 pounds.
This one bodybuilder was up to 12,000. So I guess we're somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 milligrams that you're shooting for, depending on how much you're training and how much water you're pushing through your body.
And I've had to mess with it a little bit because I'm having stomach problems if I just slam too much sodium all at once. And my preference was to put it in hot water and drink it kind of dissolved first thing.
Okay.
And I've had trouble with that. So if you want to start doing your own toying around with sodium, know that 1, it can cause stomach problems, and 2, you can fix it so it doesn't cause stomach problems. You just have to mess with it. So I've had to break it up and take it kind of more spaced out and less heavy dose per one.
So why would someone defy common sense about salt and start taking half teaspoons of salt?
This is the crazy, crazy thing, is that I spar with the same 3 people at the gym all the time. So you know these people, you know the problems you have with these people, you know the emotional ruts you get in with these people. Like, all of these things are...
And these are Thai boys, basically, right?
And it's...
young stadium fighters.
It's kind of... What is that word in science when you have a control?
Control study?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have kind of a control for, like, all the experience I have sparring with these boys previously.
Right.
And the feelings I've had, or my inabilities, or the good days I've had and the bad days I've had and all this stuff. Like, there's a lot of data there. I heavily went with salt, and my fatigue, while still fatigued, felt very different, which if you train like me...
Like the first day.
These are huge differences. Like, the quality of your fatigue is a huge component of what's going on. And you're gonna be tired either way. So mentally, how you handle being tired is what makes the difference. Like, I would come home and be physically fucking dying from all the sparring and clinching that Pinu was having me do.
Yeah.
But mentally, I was not falling apart from it because of what sodium was allowing, which the way I described it to you was I was sparring with the champ, who's very fast and like hard to spar with, even though he's not like mean. So all the mental shit that goes on with him is not like, oh my god, it's so overwhelming. It's like digging in on yourself because he's so frustrating all the time. And when I was sparring with him, I could actually, like, from the outside, acknowledge that I had 2 completely contradicting thoughts in my head at the same time, and it was okay and it was good. Normally, either I'm doing great or I'm complete shit. Those are the only 2 thoughts
like 2 settings
that ever happen.
Turn left.
It's like a light switch, and it's like, is Sylvie's switch toggle here or is Sylvie's switch toggle there? And it was both. It was like, my kick is not reaching. That's okay, step on it.
Right.
And I'm actually kind of hanging in here, like simultaneous.
This is, first of all, why do you think this has to be sodium? Like,
Turn left.
it's such a huge difference. Like, you working so hard on your mental game for many years now, for you to feel this sudden like shift, like literally the brain could hold only one thought, the brain can hold two thoughts, contradictory
it's a
thoughts.
toss-up of which thought,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
neither one helps
But this is
by itself.
This is a huge change. Why do you feel like it's sodium? Like, first of all, that's one of the more first things we have to get out of the way. It's just
One.
because you just made this pounding of sodium and suddenly, man.
Yeah, but it was not just one day. Like, if it's just one day, okay, your science is shit. But it was a very strong correlation on that first day where it was like, this is very different. It's not like I've been able to do this
No.
before. It's like, this feels completely different.
Right.
And then it continued.
And it's still continuing,
And you
right?
can say that, like, once you experience it, once you've glimpsed that shore, it's much easier to find it again. So it's possible that I could recreate that mental state better because it had just happened, but not the way that it was like, bam, 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 you're having like non-breakdowns when I have breakdowns kind of all the time. It was a very significant difference. And it's like, it's as clear as when you have a headache and you drink some water and your headache goes away, you're like, I was dehydrated.
Yeah.
It's not like, wow, that's weird that my headache went away. Like, you feel what you did to make that.
And there's an interesting thing that goes on. Like, if you're low in sodium, right, and you are sweating in the heat,
You're
and you
getting
drink
lower.
and you drink a bunch of water.
Uh-huh.
When you drink a bunch of water, if you're not supplementing with sodium, you're flushing sodium. Like, you're getting more low.
Yeah.
Which is why people are like, drink sports drinks or drink electrolyte supplemented drinks. But the level of sodium that we're aiming for is like something you have to construct. You don't get it simply from having a few Gatorades.
Yeah, it is not a, I'm going to flavor and salt my food kind of thing. It is supplementation. Like, you're adding it. It's not.
And what I find very interesting, what you're talking about, fatigue, it sounds like there's two components to this benefit that you experience from full salt supplementation. One is your actual experience of fatigue has changed.
Yeah.
Right.
Which happened when I first went on keto as well.
Yeah. That you
Episode 1, we talked about that.
Okay. And then, so you still feel tired, but it somehow doesn't matter as much. Is that a way to say it?
Yeah, it's like, to borrow your words, it's like a radio being on in the background, but you don't have to pay attention to what bad song is on or what the DJ's saying. Like, it's just background noise.
Yeah.
To let your fatigue be background noise is a huge, huge thing. And you'll see it, I see it in the gym all the time. People who have horrible habits of showing their fatigue because they want credit for it or something.
Yeah.
It's the example I use, I guess, in my head. I don't think I talk about this that much.
Okay. Okay.
Like, everybody gets tired, right?
Right.
Everybody has to pee at some point.
Okay.
If you're like in your seat and fucking like freaking out and all this stuff, like, I have to pee, it's everyone's problem. Like, if I can't concentrate on anything, the world is ending because I have to pee, whatever, you're gonna feel much better once you do. But God, it's shit, like, to make that a communal experience. Whereas there are totally times from those people, maybe because there's like embarrassment and shame and culture built into, like, in Thailand, you say, I'm gonna go take a shit all the time.
Okay.
In the West, you don't. So
I feel like we're swinging way out.
culturally, in Thailand, you hide your fatigue. Westerners don't.
Yeah.
Culturally in Thailand, you're like, I need to poop. Westerners don't.
Okay.
You can totally be in a business meeting and really, really need to pee and hide that.
Yeah, but it's
hiding the fatigue.
What's very interesting is that one of the largest challenges, hidden challenges of fight performance is how you relate to your own fatigue.
Yes.
In public.
Yes.
So a supplement, simple as salt, like if they had not called it salt, but they called it like fatigue miracle, and you could pay $100 for a tub of it, people would buy it.
Yeah,
but it's
like
salt.
How a drink that's sugar is called Power Boost.
Totally. But it's like, this is a major leap, really, for you, because a lot of what you do is getting a mental framework around your fatigue.
Yep.
And as a Muay Thai fighter, cardio fighter, what you're trying to do is push fights into fatigue states where you do better than your opponent.
Yeah.
Because when fatigue rises, technique falls.
Yeah.
Like the crispness of your performance falls.
Yeah.
If you can get a positive relationship to your fatigue, or at least a neutral relationship, this is a huge component of fighting. And I'll say, in watching this last fight, I said it to you last night, I think it was, or was it this morning, that your performance, your energy performance, was one of the best performances that I'd seen.
This is kind of incredible, is that in Thai there's this thing called ning, which is to be like unaffected and very like even kind of thing. And it's basically like someone kicks you and you don't like respond to the kick. It's basically like you are unaffected. It's the Hulk walking forward while he's being shot kind of thing.
Right.
Not the bullets going ping, 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 but like he's unaffected.
Right.
I'm not ning. I
you like
fall off of blocks all the time, like all these things.
Sometimes you are ning though.
Yeah, last night I was fucking ning. This girl was so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
And she was throwing bombs at me. Things that I normally am quite like flinchy at.
Yeah.
When I was watching the fight video with you last night, it kind of looked like...
Yeah, you're floating like flies, like an Australian.
Like, stop.
Yeah.
If I had started to get really tired, which we saw in many of the fights prior to mine, a lot of those kids were not super conditioned. They started out great, but once they got fatigued, it just, everything fell apart. If I had performed my fatigue, or even been more fatigued than I was, the ning fades off. Yeah. And you start looking affected, and it completely changes the narrative of the fight. If when King Kong climbs the Empire State Building, or Chrysler, whatever it was.
The big building. The
big building. And he's like all irritated by those things shooting at him. If at some point he was like, this sucks, and climbed back down and like walked through the city, that's a completely different story than I'm staying here, I've got my blonde chick in my hand,
totally.
Like this is.
And I'll say, wasn't just to me. Like I was up on the corner of the buckle of the ring.
Right.
The best seats other than the referee. Like I can feel the fight. Like sometimes you're like tumbling right into my corner. It wasn't just that you were ning. That was fucking awesome. But it was also, I could feel the elevated state of the stress of the fight. I could feel, because you guys were clinching so much, that I knew your heart was beating. Like, your heart was going boom, 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 boom. But the way that you performed your energy felt very different than what I'd seen before. And some of that is that you've changed your training style in clinch.
Well, how do you qualify the difference in that?
I wish I could explain it. There was a kind of like, I'm watching a runner.
Well, the way that you said it last night was that in previous years, I would throw a couple of knees and then like put my knee up to kind of like stop it. Like
catch a
do this and then
almost.
stop.
Yes.
Whereas this had like continuity or...
Totally. And it felt like an energy difference. And this is what, I'm sorry to go on about this because whoever, you might not be interested in the health dimension of this.
Skip 40 minutes.
40 minutes, not 20 minutes. But this is interesting stuff. People online are like, you can't do keto and be a fighter because of glycogen stores and you need this explosive anaerobic whatever crap thing. It really bothers me because people do not think about how much of a fight you supposedly spend in anaerobic states. Like, if you're fighting in a Thai style, like a continuity style, that emphasizes relaxation, you should be well below VO2 max. Almost always. Yeah. Almost always.
Yeah.
Like, you are in an aerobic state most of the time.
Yeah.
And that when you explode for a strike, it's for 1 or 2 seconds. You're not suddenly moving over to anaerobic states. It's not like you're going 2 minutes in an anaerobic state if you're fighting properly. So what I was witnessing here was this like beautiful endurance energy that had a mental component of confidence, like physical confidence. And I think that some of that is this sodium, some of it is the fasting, I think, too.
Well, I was telling you also last night that my clinching with Carabao, who's been my clinch partner for a long time now, and he's getting bigger. He's actually, I think we weigh the same now. He's going to be bigger than me very soon.
Okay.
He's very strong. Very, very, very strong. And I get the better of him most of the time, but he's a really good partner for me because he's not so big that I get all like stuck in positions, but I also have bigger training partners who do that for me so that I can move around it. But the quality of clinching with Carabao recently has changed from this like me going backwards trying to catch my breath all the time, like holy shit, this is gonna be an hour and a half, like how do I pace myself for an hour and a half, to an actual ultra runner who's like, I pace myself, but my pace is as far as I can nudge the line for as long as I can nudge the line to get to this spot.
And I saw that in this fight, and the fight will be up on YouTube for everybody with commentary. If you want to take a look at what we were seeing, maybe you won't see what we're seeing because we have microscopic eyes on this stuff, but the energy was qualitatively different against a very game fighter with 7 kilos on her, who's a knee fighter. This was 2 Muay Thai fighters, so the energy was like, you're not going to be taking timeouts. And I just was very impressed by it. And then to make a small segue, this was like your 5th fight in a row that was fasted.
This is crazy. I've been doing the 1+1 keto every other day fasting for maybe 3 months.
I
We
don't have
don't
sense
pay
of
attention
time.
to these
Yes.
things. It's like maybe 3 months. In 3 months, Sylvie will have 6 to 8 fights, something like that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Something. There's a 50-50 chance that I will be fasting or eating on a fight day. Every single fight has been on a fast day. I had one scheduled on an eat day, and the girl wouldn't fight me, so it was canceled.
So maybe it's more than 5 fights in a row, but at least 5. So maybe 6 or 7 have been on fasted days. And one of the questions you get online on this subject matter is people's eyes fall out of their head when they're like, you fight fasted? You don't carb load?
No, people aren't asking, don't you carb load or something, but
Some literally do.
They cannot believe that when you're fasting, that I can even have energy for training, let alone fighting. But this is your whole thing about, it is 1+1 keto.
Right.
Like, if you are not already training your body to be fat adapted, totally, you cannot fight fasted.
Well, it would be to a detriment.
Because you're running on totally different fuel.
Yeah. But this is this kind of, there's a kind of world picture that's involved in 1+1 keto, which is this idea that you're really returning to some biological foundation points, which is the human, well, I don't know, 100,000 years ago, 25,000 years ago, you did not eat every day. So fasting, having long periods of time where you're not, you don't have access to food sources, was something that you were often in these states, and that the human body evolved that when you're not getting food, to be able to kind of perform at a high level so you could go get food or not become food, right? So there is this feeling like we're tapping into animal kind of states, and it's just an idea, like who knows, it's just a bro science-y idea. But we're seeing that when we added sodium and fasting, your energy performance and your mental performance is increasing in fights.
Without you
in
doing
actual
anything
fights.
else.
Without doing anything else.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. So, I don't know, we're not recommending you do anything Sylvie does, or that I'm doing. We're just
Not a doctor.
we're just letting you know that this is what Sylvie's, what we're doing, and maybe we'll put some details up so that you can see what she's doing in terms of like actual measurements, and then we're relaying your experience, and then you experience, like one of the things about keto is it's probably not for everyone.
Yep.
Everyone has a different genetic makeup, and how you respond to fasting may be dependent upon whether your ancestors went through famine or not, like frequently throughout your genetic history. Some people are sensitive to salt, like to sodium. If you're one of these people that are sodium sensitive, adding sodium is not a good idea. But one of the things what we experienced early on was just try it. Before a workout, hit a teaspoon of salt.
Half a teaspoon.
Okay.
If you're bigger than me, maybe a teaspoon.
Yeah. 2,000, you need 2,000 milligrams for a liter of water.
Yeah, so that would be a teaspoon of salt.
That's a teaspoon of salt. And that's a liter of water.
Yeah.
So 2 liters. So I don't know. I'm just saying, take a teaspoon of salt so you can see, like, do I feel stronger? Do I feel more clear? Because one of the interesting things that I was reading about was that when you're in low sodium, your body will flush potassium. So you will then become low potassium. Potassium is related to basically the electrical workings of your body.
Your heart pumping, your blood
Totally.
circulating, all the things you need.
So
for
when you are
exercise.
low sodium, you're also becoming low potassium. And when you're low sodium, you release cortisol, which is the stress hormone. If you're a fighter and you're sparring, your cortisol's already up.
Yeah.
So if you're low sodium also, you might be really heavy on cortisol. And you could produce things like the much feared adrenal fatigue. So just adding sodium might be kind of bringing your cortisol levels down from where they were.
And this is, to me, this is a thing that, like, just try it kind of thing. Is if you read in Runner's World magazine or some fitness magazine that a cup of coffee before training increases your da-da-da-da-da, or like listening to headphones at a like whatever RPM is like da-da-da-da. People are like, huh, I'll try that. Like nobody's like, well, I don't know about the caffeine, da-da-da-da-da-da. Like just fucking try it. Like if you don't like it, if it makes no difference, if you have to run to the bathroom every 10 seconds and you don't want to bother with finding what your level is, cool. But like, it's not complicated.
And one thing, just to say, add real quick, we're almost out on this segment. If you add salt, you might have to add water too. Like we're still working with like, how much water should we drink if we're adding more salt?
Yeah,
right?
Because salt pulls water into your muscles. So if you don't have water to pull, it's going to be not doing its job.
Well, that's why when you're drinking salt water at sea in a lifeboat, you can die of thirst.
Water everywhere.
Totally. So if you do increase your salt, make sure that your water levels are pretty high too.
Yeah.
I myself used to not drink much water during the day, and I'm like, wow, that's why they say 8 glasses. Because you actually do need 8 glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next segment. Sorry to everybody who's not really interested in dietary stuff.
I'm not sorry. You guys learned something.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, so let's turn this off and see what's going on. Okay, we're back with the next segment, totally changing gears, which is the Muay Thai Bones style, right? Because we're trying to talk all things Muay Thai. We're now switching to the story of
Dieselnoi.
For those who don't know him, he is a legendary Muay Thai fighter in the conversation of the greatest of all time. That designation often goes to Samart, who Dieselnoi beat. I wrote a little bit of an essay on the Muay Thai Techniques page that we run, arguing that maybe Dieselnoi deserves this over Samart. It's an interesting topic, but the point is, this is an all-time amazing, not only Muay Thai fighter, but human being. And a big part of what we do with Patron is trying to document the Muay Thai of these legends in long-form video training sessions with you doing commentary. But also what we really hope to do is to change the lives of these legends, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have a crew fund that directs 5% of our patron support to them every year, anybody in the library. But we also want to maybe set up bigger movements of ways to support and change the lives of these legends.
Yeah.
And the example of Dieselnoi is actually a really stark version of this. Now, maybe explain a little bit about Dieselnoi's life, like why we pulled him into our gym for this 1 month. We basically paid him a salary.
Gave him a room.
Gave him a room so he can be in Pattaya. And our real thing was, it wasn't really about putting him in touch with Westerners that were at our gym. Like, that was a nice thing that Westerners could come and train with him and he could feel appreciated. But the secret was really to put him in touch with young Thai stadium fighters who are there on the come up.
Yeah. Dieselnoi is like this cornerstone of Muay Thai in Thailand. He's from an era when it was the greatest it's ever been. He was the greatest within the time frame of it being the greatest. He knows everybody. He's so wonderful. He's always in a good mood. Like, he's just, everybody loves him, and you would never ever question why that is when you meet him. He's just incredible. And he kind of has this existence now, which is a little bit unique because Dieselnoi is unique, but it's also a little bit not, which is that he is very involved in Muay Thai and that he goes everywhere. He's like part of these organizations. He referees, he teaches at kind of seminar, Baran type stuff.
He goes to the stadium, the national stadium.
Yeah, he'll like appear everywhere. But he's not like directly in contact with living, young, active, contemporary Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
I mean, like
stadium.
active Thai fighters.
Yeah. Which is the heartbeat of real Muay Thai. But a large part of why he's not connected to it is that it's a highly political setup. That once you get into the stadium levels and big gyms, it becomes very politicized, and a lot of these legends don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
Right? It was political when they were legendary fighters.
But with very different players.
What?
But with very different players.
Yeah, different players, but still the politics of it is the least enjoyable part. and so they really find themselves, they don't want to be working in a gym under the thumb of a rich, powerful manager, owner. And so they really find themselves out of the like stream of Thai fighter development.
Yeah.
Right? And so we were like, this would be very meaningful to Dieselnoi to come in touch with the Thai boys that are basically trying to climb the ranks of National Stadium.
And it's amazing for the Thai boys to come in touch with Dieselnoi because everything about him is so 100%. He devotes himself to people he met like 10 minutes ago. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah.
He's very generous, and he has a very keen eye, and he thinks about things, and he just like...
Okay. Welcome to the couch segment.
Our other car.
Our other car. This is our other car. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. We reviewed the footage from the drive when we got home, and the camera turned off, maybe because it was overheating.
Or a poltergeist.
Or a poltergeist. So we're jumping in to continue the conversation about Dieselnoi. That was lost because it's a super important and kind of exciting discussion, yeah.
So I was talking about Dieselnoi being like 100% all the time, and how this is an incredible thing to watch and feel, honestly, in a space. And the way that he just came alive being around these active young Thai stadium fighters. I've known him for like more than 3 years now, I think. Known him well, like interacting. And I've never seen him like this. Yeah. Like, he looked healthier. He looked so happy. He's just like, he started like lifting weights on like the third day of being at the gym. He was like hitting the weights. He was bench pressing. He was getting lessons in how to bench press. This is a guy that has some health problems. He smokes a lot. He had heart surgery a few years ago and needed heart surgery again, and they decided to postpone until it was totally urgent because of his age. But he definitely has health issues, and there was something about, to me, honestly, it was like the years were falling from his face by the hour, and there was something about, this is something that I want to, it's a good thing we're not going to lose this. Dieselnoi, when he was the king of Muay Thai, was in incredible physical shape. He was a tall man who fought at a very low weight. He had incredible endurance. And he's shredded. Absolutely shredded when you see photos. And for some legends, it's very difficult to have reached such a physical height, right? And then to no longer, to have that be such a memory and have that cut off from them. Like you've seen, like even Pinu's kind of very cautious about kicking the bag, right? Like what? Because these men have the memory of being young men, and it's a physical memory. And they still have the skill and they still have the body mapping, but their body is not what it was when they were 17, 18. And so they kick the bag a couple of times and they feel the fatigue. And it's not the fatigue you had when you were working fucking crazy hard. Yeah. It's the fatigue you get when you're out of shape from that and you're like, I'm so not driven to like do more of this. You're like, this makes me feel old. Yeah. And some legendary fighters don't push past that, or they stay in shape and such. But Dieselnoi, you can feel as he's in the gym and he's hearing the heartbeat of the bags being hit and the Thai boys like trying to improve themselves. He wants, remember he wanted to do pads, right? Yeah, he was like, I'm gonna do a round of pads. Like, really? Okay. Oh, baby, your microphone's pointed way down. No, it's right here. Okay. It's okay. And so this was kind of part of the project that we didn't even anticipate. We were like, put him in touch with living Thai boy development, right? These are boys that are kind of on the edges of the national stadium, right? And let him feel the new shoots of Muay Thai begin, right? And he connects to different elements of different fighters. Like when he ran out of opponents, when he was like 21, 22 years old, because he was at the top and he had gone up to fight, he had gone down to fight, all this stuff, he was helping train top fighters of the time in the Hapalong gym. So he kept himself super sharp, like ready to fight at any second, and was training Yodmoy fighters of the year at Hapalong gym. You see him in the corner, like leaping into the corner, like he totally steals the stage. And he just kind of like pulls on every aspect. He was trying to get so much out of the boys in terms of like going so hard, like just giving it your all the time, and then recovering really hard. But he was making this really big deal about how you are between things, how you stand between things, how you breathe between things. It's like you never show any degree of like
fatigue
doubt. Or lack of confidence, like nothing. And he
also kind of glued the gym together, like when he would be like ripping on Bank's stomach with his
hitting
on the sit-ups, and there was like a bonding of everybody, like we suffer together.
Yeah, he put on sauna pants near the end to lose weight and like fit whatever. But it's I talk about this in the Kaimuay Diary, is that he's in a way connecting to we suffer together, which is totally what the Thai boys do in the gym when someone is getting ready for a fight, is you suffer together. Like you help someone cut weight, you like do this whole thing. And he felt a obligation and responsibility to Krunu, who he bonded with, and they have this like older brother, younger brother thing going on, and then Krunu's son, Bank. He stayed extra without us being able to pay him extra. We paid for his room, but he basically dedicated himself and donated himself to help get Bank ready because he felt this bond to Krunu. And it was beautiful watching him in the ring, like this close, just like, like in his face and in his body, just feeling every single thing that he's telling you to do. He's not like, knee harder. He like grabs someone and like shows.
Like he has to grab the pad man. Like, I don't know, like this.
And the pad man's like, oh my God.
And I don't think we mentioned it in the surviving road footage, but this is all captured on Kaimuay Diaries. Kaimuay Diaries is a patron-only documentary series that Sylvie does, where she films in the gym and does audio commentary after. It's kind of fly on the wall, not low tech kind of stuff. But we filmed, we have an hour up already of him in the gym supporting Alex, who's a Farang Western Italian fighter who's raised at the gym since he was 13. He's 17 now. And very soon we'll be putting up part 2 of that, another almost hour, this time him training Bank, Krunu's son. So everything we're talking about, you can go watch as a patron. And in episode 1, it ends with an interview with Krunu,
it's a very where nice I asked him what it was like having Dieselnoi come to the gym, because Dieselnoi is this like absolute legend of legends. And something that Krunu said that surprised me, not in its
You were surprised he said it.
I was just surprised.
Because he doesn't talk like this,
He's
right?
very like, it's good, whatever you want. Like, he's very like, whatever. I was asking him what was it like to have Dieselnoi here for a month, and he's like, it was great. It would be so good if he was here for a year, 2 years. Like, I was just like, holy shit. And so it's our aim, and it looks like it's really going to happen.
It's totally going to happen.
To bring Dieselnoi back for 6 months, starting in August. So we got Royal Thai Residence, who sponsors our young fighters at Patron, and who we have a training accommodation package with. They're going to sponsor the room for Dieselnoi, and we're going to be able to help pay his salary. But he's going to come. Well,
we're paying his salary.
Paying his salary through patron.
out of our patron support.
But he'll come 3 days a week. He lives in Bangkok, so it's like a 2-hour drive. So he'll come for 3 days, stay at the gym for 3 days, and then go back home and do what he wants to do.
I think he's just going to fall in love with the place and ask to stay.
Sleep in Alex's room.
You know he might. You know he might. But if you watch the Kaimuay Diary, or if you're a huge fan of Dieselnoi, starting in August, I think it's August 14th is the first day, he is going to be at the gym 3 days a week. We're going to try to make it fixed days, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every week. And you can come stay for a month and just vibe off of the Dieselnoi energy, and believe me, he will help you in the gym during regular training hours. There's no extra cost for this. If you want to do privates with him, we can arrange privates. There's going to be people doing privates with him. It's a way to help financially support and add to his freedom as a traveling legend, kind of. And then you'll also be really part of the PNU, the Crew New program, where it's really this is what I want to also make clear, is that Patron Rung's an unusual gym because it's been open to Westerners for quite a while. There's a history. There's a history of Westerners being a part of the gym, but the gym has never become a Westerner gym in the sense that PNU does not want to make the majority of his business from Westerners paying.
Yeah, it's not in his heart for them.
He wants it to be a living gym where he brings local boys in and raises them up to be stadium fighters and hopefully one day champions. And interestingly enough, 2 boys that were raised in the gym, in the flow of the gym, who eventually their contracts got bought out, are 2 of the best fighters in Thailand now.
2 very big names, yeah.
Huge names. Last year's Fighter of the Year, Tawanchai,
PK Sanchai. He was Jadukam Petrungrung before.
And PTT used to be Patron Rung. Now he's a Thai fight star. So the gym itself is this weird amalgam of real Thai boy progression, and then PNU allows Westerners to be part of it. So it's best if you come to the gym for a long term, because everything done there is a kind of slow cook process. But that's why we were able to we were hoping and happy to bring Dieselnoi in, because the living vine of Muay Thai development is present there. It's not him teaching a bunch of Westerners, like how to knee. Yeah. Right? But is that you look like we hit the end of this.
No, it's a beautiful combination, especially because you could see when Dieselnoi came in how he was like bridging together this old style. That's how Crew grew up in the gym.
Yeah.
And bringing it into the now, which nobody trains now the way that they used to. But PNU remembers it, and when it was coming back in, he was like, that's how I train.
PNU purposively does not train the boys the way that he was trained, because he experienced it very harshly.
He was stressed, yeah.
It was a very harsh way to be raised, and I think a lot of Golden Age fighters were raised in harsh ways, were trained in a very harsh way under a lot of pressure, and it's part of what produced their greatness. And one of the interesting things, generations of people reverse. They want their kids to have the opposite of what they had.
Not the opposite, but even like parents who grew up without much money and then they've raised to another class, they don't want their kids to struggle the same way they did. They want their kids to not have the struggles.
Opposite.
Better, not opposite.
Yeah, no, because it goes opposite, because then the next generation is like, I was kind of spoiled, I want my son to be tough.
Maybe.
It kind of swings back and forth. But this is the interesting thing, is that with Dieselnoi coming in, Dieselnoi brings back what PNU had. He sees the toughness and relentlessness of Dieselnoi, but he also says, but it's always fun.
Yeah.
Like, Dieselnoi brings this joy.
Yeah.
He not only brings the death march, but he has this joy about it. And I think that's what convinced PNU that this is such a great thing.
Yeah.
Because PNU, it was not joyful when he was a kid and doing his marching knees and whatever else he was doing. So he's moved things to make sure that the boys are always kind of enjoying themselves. And there's a certain, maybe an intensity, a championship intensity that might have been missing a little bit. And so when Dieselnoi comes in, he like pulls the past.
It's like the chemical X.
He is the chemical X. And PNU sees, wow, that's my own heritage to come, is being brought back. My own memory is being brought back. And he kind of really likes it.
Yeah, it's a positive recollection.
So if you guys decide to come to Patron Rung in those 6 months, you're going to see this synthesis of old and new. And I'm kind of excited by it.
Totally.
So this has been the couch segment, right? This is our other car.
Yeah.
And later on in the broadcast, there will be another couch segment because something else got cut off.
Yeah. Get a cat.
A little bit of what a coffee break looks like. These gas stations are like an oasis for us. There's usually like a little 7-Eleven, rest stop. Oh, I forgot to lock the car. This one's really double parked up because it's the first one in a long stretch of road. And there's a lot of people on the road because it's Songkran, which is a New Year holiday. But these Amazon coffee store shops are like our big like road fuel. We don't eat fruit because of keto, but awesome fruit. Let's see if Sylvie's in here. Oh, look how busy. There she is, texting away. Yeah. How far are we along? We have a big long wait.
Yes. They're in the 90s and I'm 12. Which means they start over at 100. This is Songkran.
Songkran on the road, yeah. Okay. On to the next subject. Muay Thai Bones style, we're switching it up. I wrote a blog post on Patron that's available to everybody. You don't have to be a patron to read it. That kind of flowed out of a conversation we had coming back from Bangkok. You spent 4 days training with Karahat, right? For those who don't know, Karahat is one of the most artful, esteemed fighters of the Golden Age. In my mind, he's as good as anyone who fought during that time. Yeah. And when you spend time with him, we tried to get like flow state, right? Like, oh, let me see if I can fix that. We try to get flow state experiences where you're not learning techniques, but you're learning reading an opponent, moving in space, continuity of movement. Maybe talk a little bit about some of the things you're aiming for when you train with Karahat.
It's about not being correct, or like it's not a correct technique, or like you're not doing it right kind of thing. It's more like improv and just get in the sandbox and move around.
Sandboxing, right?
Experiment. And he's incredibly good at finding the sweet spot level that allows you to successfully try something that you're not comfortable with and like get a little bit more confident with it, and then he'll turn up the heat a little bit. Yeah. And I know that this happens. I've known him for many years. I've worked with him for many years now. And he's fucking Karahat. So there are phrases like, there's no shame in losing to the greatest fighter ever, right, or whatever. And I know who he is and what he is. So there should be no, like, I have any business being able to get off anything on him. And yet, when he turns it up, and I know when he turns it up, it's going to become more difficult. And I had told you days in advance, I'm like, right now I feel really good. Right now I feel really confident and free and flowing. Right. But I know that when he turns it up, yeah, that's not going to work anymore. And I'm afraid my confidence is going to crumble. And then that happens.
And I think just to speak about it a little bit, one of the hidden beauties of his style and technique is he's incredibly disruptive to tempo.
Yes.
Like, because he reads off a weight transfer, he is able to interrupt your tempo with either strikes or movements that make you feel like you can't do anything.
Yeah, it's like he knows before you know. It's like you can't even, like, start.
Yeah. And so when he turns it up, it's not turning it up necessarily in, like, power, but in, like, disruptive, go ahead, baby.
No, I just moved it out of the way.
Disruptive energy. It's like a
Yes.
kind of disruptive energy.
Yeah, there's an escalation in some fighters, which is like, if I put the power on you, you're gonna meet it and bring the power on me, and it's this fear of escalation of like, there's gonna be a fucking
Painful consequence, yeah.
yeah, or an overwhelming whatever. His is like, you kind of don't even know where it's coming from because you can't even start. It's like so frustrating. It's like some superpower that like freezes you or something. He puts tension in you to make you even more readable.
Yeah, and then once that starts,
because
my mic fell.
Because you're tense, you like can't be in the state that feels like you can move in.
Wait a second, I have to fix my mic.
Okay.
And once he produces that tension, then you're even easier to read, and then he can produce more tension. You see the same thing happen when Sanchai fights Westerners.
Yes. Yeah.
Sanchai does it with other kinds of things like his foot shuffle, his unpredictability. He makes you as an opponent become more stiff, more stressed, which makes you more readable, so he can do more things to you.
Yep.
It becomes a kind of like never-ending cycle of frustration, really. And so,
and because it's this like, you can't even get started, you feel completely impotent. Like,
yeah,
I should be able to fucking take a step forward. I've done it a million times and you can't. And it fills you with self-doubt and criticism and all kinds of things. And he's such a nice guy. Like, he's not trying to make me feel bad about myself.
Guy, yeah. Nice guy, but a killer.
Yes.
At the highest level. And for anyone interested, there's like 6 hours of your training with Karahat in the Muay Thai library. So patrons, if you have full access to the archive, you can see exactly what Sylvie is talking about. He teaches this to Sylvie, and he's been teaching for many years. And then we've put up almost 30 hours of training with him on Vimeo on demand, which is separate from Patreon. But if you like want to dive into the insane beauty of Karahat, like an indescribable style, you can watch 30 hours of commentary about him showing you this. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been a great fighter, I think, of any sport, like boxing, anything, whose style has been so documented in a teaching context.
Yep.
Like, not even close.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're able to have produced with Patron. And when those on-demand videos are sold, 55% of the income generated goes to Karahat. Well, actually, there's also Yokum Pon there. He gets a piece of that too. But it goes to the legends themselves. So it's a way to support them by studying their knowledge of the sport. But what I was interested in, what the conversation we had coming back from Bangkok was, you were feeling bad because for the first 2 days with him, he was guiding you through flow, right, and continuity. And your confidence was picking up because you felt yourself, I don't know. Flowing, right? And in the second 2 days, he started stepping up this disruptive energy. And part of it was he started feeling in better shape because he was sparring more. And he's feeling his oats a little bit more. Part of it was people were sitting at the edge of the ring watching him.
Yep.
So he had to like style for himself, and that disruptive energy made your confidence drop.
Even though I knew what that was.
Totally.
Like, even though I knew.
And there was this feeling like, this is who I really am. But can you talk about that, or is that too much?
That's the mind fuck part. Which is that.
All right. So welcome to the couch segment, part two, our other car.
Our other car. The car's our other couch.
Yeah. So I had just been asking you to tell me about when you were training with Karahat, and he lifted that intensity, that disruptive intensity, and you knew it was going to happen, like beforehand. You had some trepidation about it. You were like, oh, this is going to happen. And then it happened. And what I'm really interested in is this part where you're like, when I crumbled, I felt like that was the real me.
Yes. Welcome to our relationship. My fear beforehand included, I am going to feel like that's the real me.
Right.
So of course that's what you think, because you've already decided that's what you're going to think. That's what your groove is, or whatever. So
here, straighten that out for me, just to make sure that we're getting your lovely voice. This is just me worried about technical things.
I'm louder than you anyway on the other one.
Your fear that this was going to be the real you.
I decided before it even fucking happened what I was going to feel. And then I was afraid of the feeling that I'd already decided I was going to feel. So literally nothing had to happen for me to feel it. I just had to choose a trigger point to make me feel it.
Right.
But lo and behold, what I thought was going to happen was, oh my God, I'm feeling so confident right now. When he turns it up, it's going to crumble me, and that will reveal the real me. The stupid part about this is that the unconfident you is not any more real than the confident you, because both can be taken away. The confident me disappeared when I crumbled, but the crumbled me wasn't there when I was confident.
Right.
So it's not like there's a real you. That's shit.
Right.
But you think that there's a, oh, well, I'm always like this, I always default back to this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's like what the mental thing is. And
when you lack confidence, you're like, I'm just faking it when I'm doing well. Like,
right.
Or there was something about that.
And I don't know if this made this into the other part, but
it's worth repeating if
there
it
is no shame in not being able to get anything on Karahat, or like being unable to catch him, or being kicked to death by Karahat. Like, if Silpatai wants to kick you, Silpatai's gonna fucking kick you. He kicked the shit out of Karahat. But like, there's no shame in it until you put shame in it.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like, he turned it up because a number of things. He always turns it up on me gradually. He's very good. This is part of how he teaches. There were people watching all around the ring in very obvious ways, and he has a very healthy ego. He's not gonna like let himself get totally flipped around the way that he lets himself get flipped around when it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
So there are all of these things, but like, my decision days before it even happened that I was gonna fall apart when he eventually was gonna turn it up.
Okay. Yeah.
Is like
all
built into.
All right. But I want to make sure this goes into the segue of really where my article on shame came from.
Yeah.
Because when we were driving home from Karahat, we were coming from Bangkok to Pattaya, and we were having a Muay Thai Bones type conversation without the camera on.
This is where Bones came from.
Right. And it had to do with this idea of the crumble point, which is every single fighter has a crumble point.
The best of the best have one.
The really, really good ones, like Samart or Mayweather, they give the illusion that the crumble point is so far out there, you don't even want to go after it.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, it's so far out there, I don't even really need to defend it. But even really tough ones, kind of like Rocky Marciano boxers, they have crumble points. Like, what you're really doing when you're training as a fighter is not getting to a point where you have no crumble point, but you've moved your crumble point further and further out.
You nudge the line.
You've nudged the line, and that a large part of the training is simply moving that line. And there's two parts of that line. One is the real crumble point, the point where you will crumble. And I use the example, there are points when everyone will crumble. If you give 5 people a baseball bat and Mayweather will crumble. Like, as an organism, you cannot endure. So that you crumbled is not a sign of the real you.
Right.
Because every fighter can crumble.
It's just a sign of where that mark is.
Of where that mark is. And then there's this other mark. As a fighter, you're trying to move your actual crumble point, the point in which you actually will crumble, like how much you can endure. And then there's the illusion of your crumble point. And like female fighters are really good at projecting this illusion way out. They are like, you can't even touch me, right? Whereas Muay Thai fighters do a different kind of crumble point illusion where they're like, you can hit me all day.
Like none of your points count.
And nothing will stop me because I am so tough or something. But as a fighter, you kind of learn both things, which is why training is so hard in Thailand, is you learn endurance, emotional and physical endurance, where you actually can be hit more or be more stressed and you're not going to crumble. And then also you learn how to project this like additional gap, which discourages people from trying to break you. So I'm kind of interested in this thing where you're like, this is the real me. Like when I crumbled, that's the real me, right? With the fighter's journey, which is that when you crumble, it's no more real than when you're not crumbling. But what is that? Do you think it's enough that as a fighter to be aware that crumbling is just part of being a fighter? Like if you're not crumbling,
because
you're not growing.
The reason it's important to know that everyone can fall apart is that it pulls the sting of the shame of falling apart out a little bit. It's not just you, it's not the real me's been revealed, like all of these things that are hardcore shame. By knowing that everyone has it, and Karahat's is way over there, and Dieselnoi is way the fuck over there. That's okay, but everyone has it. It's like that line from King Arthur that's like, everyone looks away. And it's like, everyone. Everyone dies. Like, everyone dies.
And there was that great time, just to bring in an anecdote from your past. Remember when Nong Mame, this fighter, awesome fucking tough ass female fighter from, I don't know how long ago that was, 5 years
like
ago?
My 25th fight or something.
And she went after Sylvie's leg with low kicks.
She killed me.
And she hit it, I don't know,
100 times.
No, 2 times, really bad. And you were like, if she hits it one more time, the fight's over.
That wasn't my thought, but that is true.
Okay.
My thought was, it would be so embarrassing to be knocked out, so much shame to be knocked out, I better just keep going.
And but notably, you did not show how that low kick was affecting you. And she stopped. And she never threw another low kick. And this is actually the story of low kicks all the time. Is all you got to do is throw 3 more and the fight's over. But nobody throws. Very few people throw 3 more. But this is a microcosm example of the larger principle of how shame operates and showing where your crumble point is, right? Yes. And your crumble point, your real crumble point was right there. Oh, it was like... Right there. Right. But you were able to project the illusion that it wasn't. Interestingly, not out of toughness. Well, it was a kind of toughness. The shame of going down, of having to face that, was greater than the shame of getting 20 more leg kicks. Okay. this leads to part of what I wrote in that article, and I don't remember if there'll be a link in the notes, in the program notes, and you can read it and tell me what you guys think about it.
It's on Patreon, but it's free for everyone.
For everyone. It's this realization that Muay Thai is really about a shame battle.
Yeah. That
basically you're trying to make your opponent crumble, and there's many ways for someone to crumble, but the idea that really fighting is a damage game misses the point about what delivering pain to somebody is. You're delivering pain to somebody as a tool to crumble them. There are other ways of crumbling them. Like, for instance, is it a problem with the time? No. There's other ways of crumbling them. For instance, Karahat was able to crumble you without hurting you, just by disrupting you.
Yeah,
right?
by making me feel so impotent that I was ashamed of my own inability to like...
He put shame on you, which is really what is happening in Muay Thai. And this is what Muay Thai scoring does a really good job a much better job of valuing than maybe Western style scoring, which is just kind of like strikes landed, damage done. Is that really the damage quotient of fighting is only a tool in trying to crumble and put shame on someone.
Yep.
And this goes back, I wish I remember if this is what we covered, this got captured in the road footage, but this battle of shame and dignity that is going on in a Muay Thai fight is some of the like glue of the more traditional old school societies where dignity and pride and honor and shame compete with each other to glue everyone together.
Yeah.
And as a fighter, you have to realize that you are entering, when you go into the ring, this is like more like a rap battle, right? Where you're trying to embarrass and humiliate your opponent. Not humiliate them in a Conor McGregor kind of way, although he is also playing honor culture type games in the meaningfulness of what he's doing. But I'm like, you're trying to break them down, and when you are broken down as a fighter, like off balance, or you lose control of your emotions in Thailand, there's a shameful quality to that, right?
Yeah.
And you described it as shame is the ball that gets knocked back and forth between...
It's being volleyed in your court, my court, your
can
court,
you
my court.
talk a little bit about that for a minute? That analogy of shame being volleyed back and forth?
We're not talking about like intense someone hanging their head and like crawling out of the ring because they're so ashamed.
Right.
We're talking about there is shame in losing or performance or whatever. I won my fight last night and had shame when I came out because of performance, mental stuff. There's shame, and it's getting passed back and forth, and it's like, whose court is it going to land in? And then you have to carry it out. You're the one who gets the shame in the fight.
If you lose.
Yeah, or if you perform badly. Like,
yeah. And so part of the training of you as a fighter, like for instance, you might spend a lot of time working on your kick, on the bag, right? If you're excessively critical of yourself with your kick, it's never right. It's never consistent. Every day it's different. Like for you, I never step on my kick. If you build a shame relationship to your own techniques, you lose what they're for.
Yes.
Like a beautiful kick is meant as a tool in a shame battle.
Yeah.
So you cannot carry shame with you with the technique.
Yes.
Otherwise it becomes ineffective and you literally won't use it, right?
Yeah.
I think that thinking about fighters as shame warriors would maybe open up the deeper dimension of what you really need to train.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what having Dieselnoi in the gym,
and
where
his
he's
emphasis on like constant dignity.
Yeah, when you come off the bag, totally beat, he's like, stand up.
Breathe.
Breathe. Put your shoulders back. Stand up. Because he understands this is old school shame battling, right? And I think that we lose track of it in a certain regard. We lose track of the purpose of things. Like, why are you delivering pain? That's why, for instance, people don't quite understand why in Thailand they don't always go for the knockout. Like, there was a very interesting fight in the female fight. You went to the bathroom, you didn't see the whole thing, where the girl who was much sharper than her opponent, I don't know, she was maybe 16 or something, was beating her with leg kicks pretty bad.
Yeah, you said she nailed her and hurt her hard with one.
She didn't show that she was hurt, but you saw her spirit fall. Like, her hands suddenly were here, and she lost
Affect.
the little bit of erectness. And you could feel almost like the fight was over. But her opponent did not go bam, 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 and just finish her off.
Go for the kill. Yeah.
She juggled her and then would hit a leg kick. She already knew that she had the victory eventually. And she just slowly took her apart. She waited till the next round to finally finish it, and the ref stopped it, as the Thai refs do so nicely, because the shame battle isn't like, I'm going to shame you to the point of embarrassment. It's like, no, I'm going to win the shame battle. Right? And I think that's kind of a difference between East and West in a weird way.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about my fight last night. It was a completely dominant win, other than me being ridiculous in round 5. But even then, and so I got out of the ring and I just fucking took the shame with me. Like, I remember playing soccer in Germany. I was like scrimmaging or whatever. I was on a team. My German was not very good, and I didn't know who was on my team because it was like my second day. And I think I stole the ball from someone on my own team, and they're like, Sylvie, you're with us. Like, fucking embarrassing.
You're like, pass the ball.
But it's like that, where like, the shame's been doled out by me winning as much as I did, and I'm like, I'm just gonna take some of this with me, and I like left with it even though I'd won, and that doesn't mean my opponent doesn't have it. It's not a zero-sum game, but I don't need to take any of that. When I was training with Karahat, I didn't need to take any of that. Nothing different needed to happen. He could have been just as like, you can't do any of these things that have been working these last 3 days. Could have done exactly that, and if I chose not to have shame, totally different. Like, nothing has to happen differently. It's in the mind. And in the game of Muay Thai, someone gets the shame, but you don't have to be all like super hung up about it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you're a shame warrior, you have to learn how to manage the feeling of shame.
It's like hot potatoes.
Right, and how to pass it back on. It's a style, it's a tradition and style of dignity. Muay Thai is hyper-masculinity for Thailand, and part of what we get to do in the West, from the West when we come here, is you get to participate in this hyper-masculine kind of like expression of dignity, which is kind of like old world values. Really. And what we're about to talk to when we go back next segment back onto the road is we're going to talk about how shame might be an extra burden for female Nak Muay, just being raised as a woman. Well, we'll talk about it. So this has been the couch supplement. Right?
Appendix B.
Hopefully we don't have to do many of these. We can fix the technical issues, but we're really happy to add to what we'd filmed. Right? These are two good things.
Back to the car.
Back to the car.
So we are getting back into it after a stop at a gas station and to get more batteries for our microphones.
Oh, this is so beautiful.
We're actually turning left at these green signs.
Okay.
Which was a bit of a distraction because it took a really long time at Songkran. There are so many people traveling today. It's crazy.
Slight left.
But to recap a little bit, what we were just talking about is this kind of fighting being the volleying of shame from one fighter to the other, like who's going to carry it, who's going to take it out, and that I was saying that there seems to be this time travel bookending or like bubble around the present moment of fear, which is projecting into the future, and shame, which is projecting into the past. And
turn left.
So,
well, what occurred to me on what we were discussing was that if Muay Thai is a shame battle, and that much of your struggle as a training Nak Muay is learning how to handle your shame and project more dignity in all the things you do, it seems like women may have female fighters may have an additional burden because of the cultural relationships to shame that women carry. There's additional layers of shame. There's bodily shame, like fat shaming. There's sexuality shaming. That men also have layers of this also, but culturally it seems that shame seems to weigh more heavily, at least on the Western, maybe world scale.
I think you can control women with shame more easily as well.
So do you feel like there's an additional, there's a steepness to the hill that female fighters have to climb? Because if we accept the idea that Muay Thai battles are shame battles, their relationship to shame maybe is more complicated or more difficult. Like you were saying, you left a fight that you exited the ring, and immediately after the fight, after having a dominant performance, you felt shame.
Yeah. Which I can't say that I don't know where that comes from. I do know where that comes from. It's long time brain like this.
Long time brain like this?
I've always been like this. I've always been like this. But we were talking about like there's no what you really are.
Right.
Right? It's not who I really am, but it's who I really tend to be, like a lot.
Right.
And there was a fighter on that card before who we were really enjoying, actually. He was very stylish. And like completely Muay Muay, like his technical skills were a little bit crazy, but he was shameless. Like he had no problem with how crazy he was in there. And there was nothing you could do except like laugh and enjoy it because of his non-shame.
Right.
Whereas if you see someone like miss a kick and shake their head and get all down on themselves when you're experiencing their shame, there's this like stink to it.
But so you kind of don't agree that women could have a more complex
No, I think that women do
this?
have a more complex journey, because I think that one, people are more likely to shame a woman for whatever these flaws are, for not having technique, for being brawly, for whatever these things are, but they're also likely to shame her for confidence. Like, there's kind of a very hard, narrow beam on which women can walk. And if you really don't feel the shame when they're shaming you for that, that's great. You kind of get away with it. But it is a really difficult slope to truly not feel that shame.
Right.
Because you're not a good girl if you don't agree with the shame people are kind of throwing at you. And when I came out of the ring, my corner was very happy with my win. They were very happy with how dominant my fourth round was, all these things. But, which is reasonable, as they were unwrapping my hands, they were like finger wagging at me about how horribly I fought the fifth round and all the things I should have done. And it is shame. It's like...
Well, what do you think it is? Okay, let's say this is just the way, like Dieselnoi talked about how in one of his earliest fights, he knocked a guy out and his brother just yelled at him that his
brother hit him
because he was shitty at teeping.
Because he didn't teep yet.
Right? And so, well, what do you think it is about that will trigger shame? Right? Like, like really what you need to have as a fighter in a certain regard is like an immunity to shame to some degree.
Yeah.
And is that like a very big journey? Kind of like, how do you become more immune to shame triggers?
Oh God, I wish I knew.
Because like, it can be very detrimental. If you throw 3 kicks and they all air kick, and you feel shame, you're not going to kick again.
Yep.
Right? Or if you do kick again, you're not going to commit yourself to your kick.
Yeah.
So it can seriously affect your actual ability to fight.
Yes.
Right? So working on these dimensions, I don't know, or...
Well, okay, so I'm listening to a podcast right now that is called Sparta Chicks Radio, and it's this wonderful woman in Australia who interviews female athletes. And she's interviewing an American athlete who is a extreme skier. She does like big mountain ski stuff. We just read about like extreme skiing, so it's actually kind of cool. Yeah. But what's really interesting about this skier, this woman, is she'd been skiing for a long time. She started in middle school and wasn't like super ambitious towards like, I want to win all these things or become this thing or whatever the thing is, which allows you to kind of not have a lot of shame if you don't put a lot of emphasis into
risk,
very little risk.
Yeah.
And then when she was in her early 20s, she kind of had, she doesn't go into it, so I don't really know fully where it came from, but she was like, you're not going to be pretty and able to ski well forever. So deal with that before it's in your face. And so she says she, quote, made herself very ugly. I don't know, maybe she like cut her hair and wore baggy clothes or whatever. And then went to Southeast Asia to live fear for 3 months. And she just did things that filled her with fear.
Every day, right?
Every day. So she was like sleeping in bushes. She was going to Bangladesh to just witness human suffering. Nobody tours Bangladesh. It's very much like Siddhartha leaving the temple to go like actually witness human suffering.
But she basically used fear as
she inoculated herself with fear.
As her focus. Like if she was afraid of something, do it.
Yeah, which is something Goggins talks about all the time.
Although maybe not fear.
His is things you hate.
Yeah.
But he also was afraid of water.
Yeah.
And so he's in the cold water all the time, like this kind of thing. But she basically said that she spent 3 months not doing any kind of training other than building her confidence, not having to be pretty, like living in fear, like working with fear to build her confidence. And when she came back to skiing, she just started winning everything. Like it just completely changed her capacities. And she said that one of the biggest problems or disservices that people, and she means all people, but she's talking about women in particular, is that we're taught to suppress fear or push fear away or do things that you're not afraid of or be ashamed of your fear, like all of these things, rather than...
Fear is a bad thing.
Right, rather than like bring it with you, like carry it like a backpack, carry the weight with you everywhere you go and just kind of like be with it, like witness it instead of trying to like escape it all the time.
Well, what does that mean for you? Because
well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
It's the bookend of fear and shame is if you're constantly trying to avoid shame because you're afraid of it, you're avoiding both fear and shame. But if you fucking sit in shame and you're like, okay, it's with me, like I'm gonna carry it. And then on the other side of that, another great podcast that I talk about a lot is Cara Lowenthal. She does Unfuck Your Brain. She talks about shame, and she's like, the only way to feel shame is to think that people are witnessing your failure. Quit fucking thinking everyone's watching you all the time. Like, quit caring that people, or quit thinking that people care so much about you. So there's a little bit of a like gray area between those things, which is that I think women are more watched, but they're also more
they're kind of like
dismissed.
They're also keyed into feeling watched, right?
Like you better stay.
Yeah, like they're more sensitive maybe to eyes being on them. It's hard to generalize, but there's a particular way that women feel watched.
Yes.
That men might feel watched in a different way, but women feel watched, which kicks in that fear, that shame dimension.
And women athletes are kind of still a spectacle. So it's built into this like oddity of being watched and judged and things like this.
I'm interested in this component of carrying fear with you.
Yeah.
Like, one of the more interesting things that you do is you fight larger fighters, like significantly, 10, 15, I think sometimes up to 20% of your body weight. When you face off against a larger fighter, there's many advantages and disadvantages in a fight, right?
Yep.
But when you face off in space against somebody that just has more mass than you, I think the body mapping of oneself automatically has trepidation.
Yeah, and they don't share the kind of fear that you as a smaller fighter have.
That person is more relaxed.
To go left at these green
light. Green. That person is more relaxed instinctively than you are.
Yes.
At a certain level. There's like a vibration of trepidation that you will have on some consciousness level that your opponent just will not have.
But they also have a greater risk of shame.
Okay.
By losing to someone smaller.
I'm not worried about them.
Okay.
I'm not worried about them. I don't know, you're kind of debating against me a bit here.
The carrying the fear like a backpack. That's what you're getting into.
Yeah. You have this habit of like evening out everything.
It's like, how I think.
But it's always arguing against yourself in a weird way.
Yeah.
The challenge you face is that you...
Slight left.
Left?
Yep.
The challenge that you face is that you carry a fear into almost every fight.
Yes.
Like an additional component.
It's like a fucking weight vest.
Like a weight vest of some kind. And that getting okay with that is one of the long-term, I would say almost spiritual evolutions. Do I go right?
Yes.
That you face.
Yeah.
Right? I find that's very interesting because like David Goggins, his whole thing is like do something that you hate every day, which is not exactly the same thing, but it's a related thing. And his thing is always like back to square one. You're never at the finish line and you have the like belt or medal and now you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
You want to live in a state of discomfort, which is you're always beginning at square one.
Yeah.
Or it seems very similar to the idea of carrying fear with you. It's like you're not going to get to a point where there is no more fear.
Yeah. You don't conquer it. You don't like, I've earned it and now I'm done.
Yeah, you almost like learn to live with a wild animal in a weird way. And it's always wild.
Yep.
And it always can hurt in a weird way. Do you identify with that as your own process at all?
Totally. I think that people, I don't know where it comes from, honestly, but there's this like myth that's very strong that at some point you'll just be over the difficulty. Like you will have climbed the hill and now you're on top of the hill. You used to be afraid and now you're not anymore. You used to get nervous and now you're not anymore. You used to struggle in fights and now you don't anymore. You used to be insecure and now you're not anymore. Like people who are super confident have to manage and maintain that confidence all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's not like snap your fingers, done.
Yeah.
And
well, Ronda Rousey, this actually bends back to the like world title thing. Ronda Rousey talked about how when she thought she got an Olympic medal, she'd be okay.
It's like you've arrived.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was like nothing changed in her life. Like in terms of the most important things you thought would change.
Yeah.
And I think there is this thing about the like belt or the achievement or whatever, like I'm finally authentic, I'm finally accepted or respected or whatever that is, that in some ways, even if there were legitimate world title belts, that thing would work against the genuine deeper path of a fighter. Like you never want to be the champion who can now relax.
Right.
If your path is really about walking with fear.
Yeah. Unless, like, what you want to achieve is never having to do something again. I don't know.
Well, that's the whole interesting thing is like, for those that follow David Goggins, he's like, that's not where I want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I want to always be at square one. And that's one of the more compelling things about fighting 200 or 300 or 400 fights is you're carving out a path that really has nothing to do with a particular result. Right? It's a way of living.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what do you think about making fear your companion? How do you train that? How do you acclimate or immunize yourself to some degree about fear? Because you're still fucking afraid.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas on that? I mean, this is...
Well, I actually have done a technique vlog on this, which is that you have to first acknowledge that you're afraid. You can't be like, oh, I'm not scared, like, I'm so tough, I can face anybody. Like, I'm scared and I can face anybody. Like, it's both. And I think that there is a degree of desensitization where, like, when you've faced it over and over and over again, the quality of the fear kind of changes.
It's more familiar, maybe.
Yeah. It's people with depression, you're not just going to suddenly one day be happy, like you're just done. You just kind of learn how to function in it better. And I think that it's kind of like that.
There's that beautiful thing, though. There's a class of monks in Thailand who are forest monks. They're not part of, it's a branch of Buddhism, which involves a lot of like meditation apart from the lot. You go to the woods and practice, right?
Yeah.
And one of their transitional tests are either like sitting with corpses, in which Thais have a very strong fear of ghosts, or going into the forest and encountering and sitting with tigers. And tigers are man-eating animals, like something full of fear. But basically, the idea is to become very calm in the presence of fear, or a fear stimulus.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the Vipassana training that you're trying to do too. Is you're trying to pull yourself out of these time travels backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Always back into the moment, not forward or backward, right?
Yeah. Which is not easy.
So hard.
Not easy.
It's so hard. Well, what do you think? Do you think we covered that?
Yeah, I'll post this podcast that I'm listening to. I haven't gotten all the way through it, but the woman, the skier, talks about how training her confidence and carrying your fear and never conquering your fear, and they go into shame as well for women. I'll post it, or we'll keep it in the notes so that people can listen to it. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, next segment. I think this is probably our last segment. We try to like...
Watch out, baby.
Oh, you're right. We try to be like, to always include some technical aspect of Muay Thai, discussing technique, because it's an interesting component. We have large ideas like fear, shame, and honor culture. One of the stories that we've been following with Sylvie is Southpaw versus Orthodox, and Carhot switched Sylvie to Southpaw more than a year ago. He started the switch. He was trying to free her up from some habits that she had in Orthodox and move her away from some weaknesses that Orthodox had. And it was a very interesting journey because she basically had to start at like blank slate, right? Rebuild all those instincts on the Southpaw side, discover the advantages Southpaw a fighter has, which are many. And then recently, she started moving back to Orthodox in specific fights to get in touch more with flow and comfort level, because that was her more natural style. And so one of the exciting things about training with Karate is that he was a switching fighter.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a switching fighter like he had set switching footwork, like TJ Dillashaw or some bang Muay Thai
It would be
thing.
like, now it's time to score a lot. He would switch.
Yeah.
Go right.
And in training under Carhot, really, when he moved her to Southpaw, he was just adding in a vocabulary from a different perspective, right?
Yes.
Well, I feel like I'm talking too much about this. Go ahead, jump in.
Turn right onto the ramp.
To me, what's interesting about this is that switching involves a great deal of diverse vocabulary of techniques, but the switching itself being a technique is elusive. And
Like when to switch, or technically how to switch?
Because I had to start over. I'm not left-handed by any stretch when I first started. Like, I can't hold a fork with my left hand. Like, I can't brush my teeth with my left hand. But when I switched and I really dedicated myself to it, I became very good left-handed.
We missed it.
No, it says to...
It says to Pate.
No, in 10 kilometers.
Okay, we can go straight.
No, this is not. Okay, this is not right. You have to do a U-turn.
Right, left.
Keep right.
Keep right?
Yeah.
Okay. We had a directions thing just then.
In 850 meters, keep left, and then there's going to be a U-turn under something, I think.
Okay.
So I became able to fight left-handed and good at fighting left-handed. I was beating people who I have true challenge with, even right-handed.
You beat several world champion Southpaw fighters left-handed,
500
like
meters.
Ticha.
Left at the fork.
Who else did you
Nong
beat
Benz.
left-handed? Nong Benz. Well, she's not a world champion, but you kind of beat Hong Khao, who sadly has passed.
Oh.
Tragically has passed. But it was a Karchuk fight, so it didn't really count as a victory. But yeah, you've performed really very well.
At the fork.
1 second, where are we?
Go straight because the U-turn is under something or to the side of something. So just go
Okay.
straight here.
But you had pretty great success as a Southpaw fighter, like pure Southpaw.
Yeah. But there's an interesting thing, because when I first went Southpaw, because I'm not Southpaw, I did not take some of the not really technical flaws I had with me. Like, I was able to do things left-handed that I can't do right-handed because I have all these habits built in right-handed. And so I was like free from it for quite a while.
Right.
But I did it for more than a year. I think it's been about 2 years since he switched me, and I've been fighting for about a year in it.
Slight right.
600 meters, get in the right lane to do a U-turn. And so given any amount of time, okay, so go up on the ramp to do the U-turn.
Okay.
Given a certain amount of time, you develop new habits, right? So when I got good enough in Southpaw, new habits that are not great crept in, like new thought patterns, new I can't do this, new why can't my block come up, like whatever.
Right.
They just find their way in. So now I'm at this new point where it's like you have this set of advantages in one stance and a set of flaws in that stance, and then you have a set of advantages in the opposite stance and a set of flaws in that opposite stance. So you like have both, and they're not super even.
And they're not the same.
They're not the same.
So you have an asymmetry.
Right. So like
on each
for
side. example,
when I'm left-handed, I stand much closer. When I'm right-handed, I'm much more aggressive. Like it's.
But you stand further.
I stand further.
Yeah.
So there's a complicated trade-off, but that's where switching comes in, where it's like you move into this stance to have these advantages, and then you change into the other one to have those advantages, and try to kind of like fudge the area of the flaws, right? Which is what Khao kind of did.
Yeah, you would watch fights of his when he would switch, and he would be like, for 2 rounds, I'm going to fight, let's say, left-handed to shut off, I think...
to close his open side.
Yeah, to close his open side. Against Mati, I think I saw, he fought really well like this. He was like, I'm going to close off...
600 meters. Keep right at the fork.
Keep right at the fork.
Yep.
I'm going to close off my open side against your big, powerful kick, which is kind of be defensive, get a few points, and then in the middle of the fight, I'm going to switch to Orthodox, and I'm going to score on you.
Yes.
And then to close out the fight, I'm going to switch back to Southpaw.
Close that side back up.
To close that side back up.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like really beautiful. Where am I going?
You want to go
right there.
right. No. You want to go right towards Rayong.
Didn't that say Patia?
Patia, right here.
Oh, you're right. But it's really beautiful to see these kinds of like, and then sometimes he'll switch at a moment in a round. He doesn't simply make a plan like, I'm now going to do this and I'm now going to do that.
Right.
It's about feeling.
Which is where I'm at, which is like, I was trying so hard to stay in Southpaw, to learn to be comfortable in Southpaw.
Right.
So it was like, quit getting scared into Orthodox because you panic and are like, oh my God, get back to your comfort zone. Go right.
Okay.
So I had to like force myself to stay Southpaw.
Right.
Then I started getting more comfortable in it, where I would like stay in it more anyway. And then now I'm at this point that's like, I did a voiceover for my fight against Pommy, who's Southpaw. And it's like there are technical advantages to being Southpaw, but I wanted a mental, emotional, experiential freedom that I don't have in Southpaw all the time.
Right.
And so I went that route.
Right.
So it's like...
But in this fight, which I was pretty surprised by, you fought an Orthodox fighter.
Orthodox.
And you stay in Orthodox the whole time. And I was like, wow, that's not switching. And one of the interesting, there was a lot of stress in this fight for some reason. I could feel that there was a lot of tension in this fight. She's a big girl. She knows how to fucking handle herself. And the stress level was high.
Yeah.
And you wanted to be in your natural stance. I was suggesting when we drove home that one of the secrets to maybe solving the switching problem is to set up Southpaw.
Like start out
in stance on Southpaw, so that you then can step into a more flowing Orthodox, and then go back to Southpaw when the pressure's off. Because there's advantages to Southpaw that you have, like you stand closer, you're able to close distance a little bit easier. Closing distance a really big part of your game. And maybe to feel the relationship or the dialogue between these two halves of skills you now have.
Yeah.
And to just make your own style, basically.
Yeah.
But if you start off Orthodox and you're just like, I'm never comfortable enough to go Southpaw, then you're just going to become an Orthodox fighter, and you'll lose that extra vocabulary you've worked hard to develop.
But I was just training with Khao for these 4 days, and I was mostly in Orthodox, but I would switch like kind of fluidly, and in the context of training with him, it was working really great. because of the allowances he gives, because of the relaxation he focuses on, because of the mindset I'm in working with him, all of these different things. It's like, if I could take that and put it in a fight, holy shit.
Well, you have to raise the crumble point. Is what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is that you have that comfort level, but its crumble point is too low right now. So you just have to raise the crumble point, and the way you do that is probably with sparring.
Yes.
Like, expose yourself to pressures that are testing you and forcing yourself to move between the two stances.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And what's possible about that, what's kind of interesting is that older Muay Thai, like Baran for sure, but even Golden Age Muay Thai, had great ambidextrous qualities to it. Like Samar told us, he doesn't consider himself Southpaw.
He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Which
like
hand?
It's like, which
Like,
hand do you
totally
talk
even.
with when you are talking about something?
Yeah.
Like, you literally take the side that's available, that you feel like you want to express yourself through. And that's one of the more interesting or more exciting things about what you're doing with your Southpaw, is I'm hoping that you can just feel your way moment to moment to what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool that you get to train with, occasionally, Karahat, one of the great switching stylists. You know?
Yep.
There's something about that kind of ability to step back, take one step back, switch stance, and defend.
Yeah.
And then take another step back. And there's another fighter that I always think about, talking about switching, which female fighter is Chomani, one of the best female fighters Thailand has ever produced.
Yeah, her switch is interesting because it's hard to pick up on. You see it.
It's not hard. You find it. To me, it's very formulaic. She stands Southpaw, I think, but she's an Orthodox fighter. So
No, I think it's the opposite. I think that she stands Orthodox, and then as she walks in, she becomes Southpaw and fires into the open side.
Okay. The stance she takes normally, her defensive stance, is not her attacking stance. It's a defensive stance, and it's often at great distance. And what she really wants to do is take one step forward into her opposite stance and attack. And I think a lot of people, when they fight her as if she's the stance that she's in much of the time.
Yeah.
And she's the opposite stance fighter.
Yeah.
And so she has this beautiful kind of striding, stepping style that is very hard to read.
Yeah.
And you often will find when you're fighting her is that she's suddenly attacking you from an angle that you didn't see.
Yeah, she just walks into
She just walks right into it. And actually, Sao Sing was so relaxed in her last fight. She was kind of doing that a little tiny bit.
I watched it live and I didn't see that, but JoJo saw it and you saw it.
And I saw it, yeah, definitely. She was playing around with that, and she's friends with Chomani, has trained with her, so maybe she picks up on that a little bit as a point of confidence. But this is something that, for people who follow your fighting, this is part of the Southpaw versus Orthodox journey. And who knows where it will go. Maybe you'll just be like, I just want to be Orthodox fighter. But I'm like, I would love to see your flexibility and search for what you like. Because there's some things you do in Southpaw you do very well. I know you're like, I don't know. But I think you do very well from Southpaw on some things. That forward check you do from Southpaw, that's a shutdown kind of move. It's so beautiful. I don't know. So more to look forward to when you watch Sylvie's fights. The fight that we just talked about from Trot will be up probably in a couple of days with commentary on YouTube. The Dieselnoi Part 2 Kaimuay Diaries will be up within a week or so for patrons. What else do we have to look forward to? Sagat, by the time you're watching this, is going to be up probably very soon on the Muay Thai library. Thank you to all of our patrons.
Thank you.
Honest to God, you are making incredible things happen, and the Muay Thai Bones podcast is part of us trying to expand the conversation of Muay Thai. long form discussion of big ideas and themes in the sport.
Yeah,
and the
Muay
art.
Thai is more than just 2 fought on max. It's everything.
What?
It's everything.
Okay. See you next time on the road.